I think you should really block out the noise. And if you have identified something that's interesting, and not only that, something that people will use or pay you to use, just pull the thread. Just pull the thread and keep pulling the thread and be patient. This is like such a patience game.
Welcome to the Undefeated Underdogs podcast, where I unpack and narrate stories of ambitious people who turn obstacles into opportunities. My goal for this podcast is to create a platform to narrate underdog stories and maybe play a small, teeny tiny role in inspiring you. I intend to highlight the underdog mentality and make authentic conversations with people who play the long game, take action with a chip on their shoulder, and convert obstacles into opportunities. Buckle up, as I'll be bringing some authentic founders, VCs, community builders, and content creators who got underestimated their whole lives, and yet they beat all the odds to become insanely successful. Now, today I want to tell you a little bit about our awesome sponsor, Acquire.com. Selling a business is as tough as building a business. As someone who went through this process once, selling my own startup, I know the pain it takes to get to the end zone. This is where our sponsor shines. Imagine this. You're a founder who's built a solid SaaS product, acquired customers, and generating consistent monthly revenue. The problem is you're not growing for whatever reason. Lack of focus, lack of skill, or just plain lack of interest, and you feel stuck. What should you do? The story I'd like to hear is you buckled down, somehow reignited the fire, get past yourself and the cliches, and start working on your business rather than just in the business. You start building an audience, move out of your comfort zone to do sales and marketing, and in 6 months, you triple your revenue. The reality isn't as simple. Situations may be different from every founder facing this crossroads, but too many times, the story ends up being one of inaction and stagnation until the business becomes less valuable or worse, worthless. If you find yourself here or your story is likely headed down a similar road, I offer you a third option. Consider selling your business on Acquire.com. Capitalizing on the value of your time is a smart move. Acquire.com is free to list and they've helped hundreds of founders already. Go to try.acquire.com/Sharath and see for yourself if this is the right option for you. Now, let's get into today's episode. Let's be honest. 90% startups fail. They either get shut down or get acquired. My next guest is Brendan Mahony, the founder of Sunset, which handles all things from legal, tax, operational burdens when shutting down a company. It actually sucks when you go through the process, because you started something, it feels like your baby, and then at some point you have to wind things down. And they make sure, Sunset, these folks, they make sure founders and investors avoid penalties, liabilities, immediately they show path to like move on, and literally what the company's name is, they just Sunset things. And they've helped hundreds of VCs back startups, and VCs get their money back, and I think over $100 million in funds were redistributed in the last couple of years, if I'm not wrong. Brandon is also like a YC alum. He's a 3X founder, and I'm excited to chat about. This is like so different from my other conversations, because generally we have founders talk about doing awesome things, and this is about doing the other part, which is not talked a lot about. So, Brandon, how are you feeling? How's it going? Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks so much, man. No, it's great to be here. And yeah, feeling great. It's beautiful in New York, and yeah, nothing to complain here.
No complaints. Everybody's grateful. I think that's exactly what I'm wearing.
Yeah, I love it. Exactly.
So yeah, let's start going in through Sunset. I read the letter on the website. It was very painful experience, if I'm not wrong. That's why I started it. So yeah, talk to me about out of all things that you've done as a ex-founder at that time. You sold companies, you went to YC, and you are into product marketing, yeah, why going after such a, because one of my SaaS products got acquired, and they did like a lot of due diligence. I hated it. So there is like a painful logistical operational things that generally we avoid, right? So yeah, you're on a different role. So why sunset? Why this problem? What excited you to like, okay, this is where I want to spend my rest, I don't know, like 10 years or so?
Yeah. Yeah. Why did I start a funeral home? Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, my mom's so proud. So yeah, so I guess a little background. I know I appreciate the intro, but yeah, went through YC, started kind of first company, was like a good cash flowing business. Didn't really feel like it was going to be venture scale. We can talk more about that. I think that actually could have gotten a lot bigger. But was drinking a lot of the startup Kool-Aid at the time. So, anyways, decided to sell that. We sold it to kind of a PE shop. Immediately started a second company, which no one should do. It's so dumb. Like, take a minute. I honestly don't know if I took a day between the two. But yeah, the second one just made so many dumb mistakes. Oh my god! But the biggest, stupidest mistake we made was definitely, I mean, such a classic mistake. Was we just built in isolation for an entire, yeah, by the end of it we like came up for air. We had this whole like crazy product and try to sell it, and everyone's like, yeah, what is this? Like, this kind of sucks and I don't care and I'm not going to pay for it. And at that
Hmm.
point I was like, okay, I've been like doing the founder thing at that, probably like 5 years, and I was like, I'm so tired, I'm done. You've obviously started several entities. If you start a company, it's really easy. Like,
Yep.
go on Stripe Atlas right now, go on Clerky. It'll take you 10 minutes to start a Delaware C corp. Cost you $500,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like good to go. And now you're doing all these things. You can like get an EIN quickly. You can get a Mercury account. Like, it's slick. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're used to that workflow, you're probably thinking, wow, okay, if I have to shut this down, it's going to be similar. It's not. It's really bad. So it took me, and also as a note, like if you're the CEO especially, or just the general founding team, like this works on you. No one's helping you because your company is done. So yeah, it took about like 7 8 months. I felt horrible about myself. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know if I'm a founder or if I'm any good one. I don't know if I'm ever going to start another company. And yeah, it felt like a huge failure. I felt really alone. And then I had to spend like months doing this absolutely awful, like
Hmm.
awful work. I mean, you're literally dealing with state agencies and like workers' comp and insurance and all your vendors, and everyone hates you. Like, my lawyers did not want to talk to me at all. My accountants did not want to talk to me. No one wants to talk to me at all. Your investors are like totally written you off. So, anyways, thought nothing of it. Like, literally blacked it out. Contracted for different startups. Worked for a different startup. And yeah, during that time, I mean, I definitely had the bug,
Hmm.
So I was playing around with different ideas, but nothing was that exciting. And I during that time, I started getting texts from like YC buddies, like other people I knew, just being like, "Hey, man, company's not doing that well. I have no idea what to do. I know you wound down a company in the past. Like, can you help me out?" And so after like the third or fourth text, I was like, this is insane. Like, why is it so easy to start something and so difficult to
Hmm.
shut it down? Especially just like the business we're in, like you said at the beginning, literally the whole VC model is 9 out of 10 aren't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
That is how, and more broadly speaking, in the US, if you look at the statistics, in a 10-year time span, like 80%, 90% of companies go out of business. And so that just felt really crazy to me. And so, yeah, just felt weirdly compelled to honestly just um, really help people in a very, very difficult time in their lives. And so that's kind of the origin story. That was really long winded.
No, 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 no. It's all good. I feel I've kind of thanks for that answer, because I picked a couple things I want to like go and dive a little deeper into. Uh, let's talk about Sunset. You know, let's talk about Toybox. Started like 2018, sold at 2020, and raised a bunch of money. So talk to me about building as a first-time founder and going after VC, the whole experience. Do you have any tips and any insights that you can provide as a first-time founder for listeners who are first-time founders, that people that should avoid, or like you should really focus on certain things?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, definitely apply to YC. Like, even just the process of filling out that, they'll tell you this too, but it's totally true. Just filling out the application, whether or not you hit
Mm-hmm.
send, it's actually really useful exercise. They just get down to brass tacks, right? Of like, what do you do in a sentence? That's actually, this is a tangent, but that's actually probably one of the best things I learned from Wise. In Wise, I don't know if they still do this, but you're in a batch, and in that batch there are little subgroups, and so every week you meet with your group and your partners, and you go around a circle, and you have to give a one-line sentence what your company does, and you do that every single week. And every single week, ours was like, for Toybox, even today, like, it's really hard to say it in one sentence, which is not great. And it was humiliating. It was absolutely humiliating, and absolutely, I have like PTSD from just like being in this small room, and just them being like, what the hell does that mean? Like, what do you do? What do you actually do? And so with this business, I actually think it's one of the best exercises, especially for early stage founders. Tell me what you do in one sentence. If I do not understand it, no one's going to understand it. You can't sell something that you need to be able to say it in one sentence. So with Sunset, like, yeah, we help companies shut down. Great.
Mm.
I could tell that to your grandma, and she would know
Mm.
exactly what it is we do, right? I can be a little more specific. I could say we help venture-backed tech startups shut down, right? So now whoever I'm saying that to, they can
Mm.
disqualify or qualify themselves as well. But anyway, so that's kind of a side tangent, but yeah, the kind of first time founder, I'd say the biggest areas, maybe the biggest learnings that I have going into Sunset, maybe that's a different way to frame it. So one of them is obviously like, can you actually say what you do in one sentence? The classic thing that everyone tells you is like, are you solving a real problem? Which is totally true. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just like boring advice. Most advice you hear, I've listened to all the podcasts, guys. We've all listened to all the podcasts. I've read all the books. You're going to hear the same advice over and over again, and you're going to be like, cool, and then you're going to ignore it, and then you're going to do the wrong thing, and
Even
then
after
and
listening.
yeah, totally. Yeah, you can listen to it like 100 times because you're like, cool, that's the same boring piece of advice that I've heard a million times. And then you're gonna screw it up, and then you're gonna be like, now I get it. And I've done that about a billion times. So, it is what it is. I think it's important to do that. But all my advice is like all the boring, like, for you talked about fundraising. Let's get into fundraising. I've had a lot of founders come up to me and ask, what are your strategies? How do you fundraise, especially in this climate? So for Sunset, we raised back in December. People are like, how'd you actually do that? It's such a difficult climate. Honestly, the answer is really, really simple. It's just build something that makes money or that anyone is using. I have no
Mm.
strategies. I'm not a good fundraiser, but if you have something that people pay you money for,
Mm.
investors will want to put money into your company most likely. If there's like, if you do okay job storytelling, sure, there's a bunch of minutia, but at the end of the day, like, that's it. And so if that's it, just like forget the fundraising thing and just actually try and make money. Just try and sell whatever it is that you want to sell. But I feel like I'm like going all over the place, so maybe you
No,
can
no,
hone
no,
me in
no.
a little bit.
You go. You be you. That's the whole podcast. Like, this is a conversation.
But yeah, that's kind of my biggest thing. And then in terms of actually like how do you go and sell something? So one, I think that is the only skill that matters in this game. If you're trying to be a CEO, obviously a CTO, different thing, but selling is the only thing that matters. It's the only thing I would practice. It's the only thing I would care about. You don't really understand. I feel like you don't really understand that. I didn't even fully understand it until Sunset as well, because Sunset has been far more successful than my previous companies and has been growing a lot more, then my only job, the only thing I do is selling. I sell employees on why they should join me. I sell investors on why they should give us money. And I sell customers as why they should also give us money and use our service.
Hmm.
The only thing I do sell. That is it. That is, and that's how we started this company. So the other thing, so main learnings from Toybox Contrast days. Contrast the company that we shut down.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I love YC, but like there's a lot of Kool-Aid, and there's a lot of advice, and I won't single out YC, but there's a lot of startup advice. So a few pieces of advice that I don't necessarily agree with. One is I feel like a lot of times people try and massage and craft and perfect this idea before they start anything. Uh, and what I mean by that is like it's recurring revenue. The TAM is monstrosity. It's like XYZ. It's using ABC, blah, 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 right? And you have to have that like perfect message. And then if it doesn't check one of the boxes, right? It's sort of like dating, right? Like you all have that friend who's so fucking picky and is like, oh, I need them to be this, 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 this. And they have all these little check boxes. And you know what? They're single.
Yeah,
It's the
all the
same thing
time.
as a founder, right? If you're gonna go out there and be like, oh, it needs to be like a quadrillion million billion dollar market already, and like XYZ, I'm not gonna do it. And so
Hmm.
I really believe that. I really, really did. And I think the industry, I think the ecosystem makes founders, especially first time founders, believe that.
Hmm.
This company, right? This is the weirdest goddamn company. We are so weird. We are like, think about it. All the companies we work with, they're going to business, right?
Yeah.
So first question I get is, okay, so recurring revenue? No, we're transactional. The other question I get is, do any of them have money? The other question I get is like, how big is this market really? Like, can you
Yeah.
actually scale this thing? Is this just a services business? Or is there actually tech? Like these are all the questions that investors, and they're great questions, right? Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. They're great questions that we've been starting to answer. But old me, a younger me, would have never started this company because at the front, I would have asked myself those questions. I wouldn't have had the answers, or I would have assumed the answers without actually going out and trying anything and trying to get money from people.
Hmm.
And I would have never started it. But our business, I think, is a really good example. I don't know how big this thing's going to get. And maybe all those people are right.
Yeah.
But like, we have a real company on our hands. And I think you should really block out the noise. And if you have identified something that's interesting, and not only that, something that people will use or pay you to use, just pull the thread. Just pull the thread and keep pulling the thread and be patient. This is like such a patience game. I feel like everyone wants to like get a quick buck, and
Hmm.
I'm on such like a little soapbox diatribe. This is awful. So
I love that answer for various wonderful reasons. You're so authentic. It feels like uh, it's not fluff because some founders I just talked to, fluff is a bad word. They're very kind of way
cagey.
far ahead, like in their journey. They're in this moment, but they're like their mind is somewhere else, right? Yours, it feels like you're pretty chill. That's the right word. Like pretty chill. You know what you're doing, and I have like a bunch of kind of like follow-ups from that. One of the
Yeah.
questions I have is, how do you even get investors on board? Because
For
this
this
is again,
company.
yeah, for Sunset, it's such a, like I said, in your words, perfectly described. So
No,
weird.
I'll tell you, and that's my answer to before. The only way I bootstrapped this company. We were generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, and then I went
Mm,
and raised money. It's that easy, right? And fundraising is really hard. Fundraising, even at that stage, like it was pretty quick. We have amazing people on the cap table, incredible operators, founders, super well known folks, and I'm very, very happy. But even still, like, I think we had a great hit rate, but I think I still probably talked to about 80 or 90 investors, and I think we got about 30, 35 of them on the cap table. So almost 50%, which is great rate. But again, like it's a brutal game. And that's literally, that's me going out with real paying customers. Like I said, hundreds of thousands in revenue generated, and even still, that's kind of hit rate. So that's another thing. Like everyone says it, but like this game is you're just gonna punish yourself. It's just a game of being punished every day. Like it is.
Yeah.
It is just people telling you you're an idiot.
Rejection. You're like
Yeah.
you're the wrong guy for the wrong reasons, and whatnot. You're giving permission for other people, including yourself, to double down on the doubt, right? So they're like weird ways startups work. So I think we should talk about Sunset. I think the biggest thing is, how do you even find customers? It is so weird. I know the fact that we all know 90% startups die, but nobody talks about them. Everybody wants, how much is your MRR? How is your ARR going? You've reached 4 million customers, 10 million customers. You hired this incredible, you know, executive level, or you got like sunny side, like you go to this, offsite and whatever it is. It's all like on the bright side.
Yeah.
But what you're dealing is the sad part. Like, how do you even go find not sad founders, but founders who are feeling terrible about themselves and ask them money? It's like
You're
the
making make me sound like a grave robber.
no. I'm not sounding
No,
like
no,
that,
no,
but
no. I'm just joking.
it's it is
Yeah,
the
that's a
reality,
good
right? Like
question.
it's a reality, and I think traditional typical marketing doesn't work, in my opinion, right? You can't put content out saying that, hey, your startup is about to fail all the
Yeah,
time. That's
yeah. People don't love that.
People won't
Yeah.
love that. So what is your marketing strategy looks like? How are you finding
Mm,
customers? How did you generate like that thousands of hundreds of dollars?
yeah.
What is your approach?
It's a really good question. So I'll elongate this answer as well. I'm sorry in
Yeah,
advance.
go ahead. It's all
Well,
yours.
it goes back to your original question, which was what are some of the other learnings for first time founders? So, like I mentioned, second company that I built didn't work out. Just built in isolation. No one cared. This company, I was like, I'm never doing that again. So I wrote up a blog post. It was like my personal story about shutting down.
Hmm.
Had like a little catchy title, and I posted. YC has like its own forum, and I posted in there, and it got a ton of comments and traction. And I said at the end, like, hey, if you ever want to chat, like, I actually have like a little team here of like lawyers, things like that. I didn't have anything. I had no idea how to shut down companies. I had no lawyers, no tax, no team, no nothing. But I was just like a little bit at the end. And like, here's my Calendly link. So I think we got about 25, 30 calls. And I think I closed like a few grand in sales, like
Hmm.
just off the bat, just asked for money. And that's how I started Sunset. And that's how I
Hmm.
understood, like, is this even worth pursuing? Is there a willingness to pay? Things like that. But that kind of goes into your second question, right? Which is around distribution. So it's the classic meme, and it's the most true meme, which is just like first time founders focus on products, second time founders focus on distribution. The only thing I
Right.
cared about with this company was distribution. Like our product, like just now is our product getting really good, but it's
Hmm.
been like and really good in terms of like the technical aspects of it, right? Like the actual technology and the app and the whole thing. Like up till now, for the first, I don't even know how many companies we were using spreadsheets. I didn't even build anything because why would I, right? Why would I?
Right.
Why would I go and automate this when I don't even know what should be automated? And so, and again, this strategy doesn't work for all companies. I understand that. So, whatever. So I had those same questions you had at the beginning. So I was like, I really need to figure out how distribution work. And my
Yeah.
hypotheses ended up being pretty accurate, luckily. But yeah, we get all of our, at least currently, we get all of our leads through channel partners. So VCs, accelerators, law firms, accountants, and just other founders. And so for us, it's a very interesting distribution strategy where you're kind of talking not to the you're not selling necessarily to the end consumer at first. Then they kind of come, they hear about you from one of those folks, and then you actually have to talk to that founder and explain them what we do and try and understand their situation, and then actually, sell to them. So that's how that works.
So it's a lot of word of mouth, if I'm understanding it right. And it's just 1 year ago you started this. It's not like you're in this like for a long time. Any interesting insights that you've learned in the last 1 year? I also have wondered, why have you applied for YC, or you want to go to YC through this? You just want to stay as it is? Curious on that front as
Um,
well.
so yeah, I started this. So I started this full time a year ago. I started working on it almost 2 years ago. Was
Uh,
doing that blog post, those first couple customers, that whole thing. That was that was. Sorry, is there background noise or is it okay?
no, all good.
Okay. Um, yeah, those first. I still had a job, so I still had a paycheck. A lot of people say that as well. It's very hard. I'm not great at that either. So I think for some folks, they can do a good job at that. It wasn't great, but anyways, started about 2 years ago, and then I'm so
What
sorry,
what
I lost the question.
what wasn't good that you just mentioned about paycheck?
No, I think there's pros and cons. So it was awesome that I had a paycheck and like started testing this product out.
Right. So you're
That was
doing this on the
fantastic.
side.
Yeah, I was doing it on the side. So that's
Got it.
that's such a nice way to relieve the stress.
Hmm.
And it was very helpful for me because I think I sometimes in my earlier self were prone to pivoting if I didn't feel like there was attraction really, really quickly,
Hmm.
and not giving things enough time. And so by not having the pressure of like where's my income coming from and like the the,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
burn rate, like how many months left, that was super helpful. But
Yeah.
it's just hard. I guess I just meant it's hard to balance that, to
Right.
like actually focus on those two things at the same time and do a good job at anything. But yeah,
No, the
I
question
lost your
is,
original question. Yeah.
yeah. The question is like, have you thought about going to YC, because you've done
Hmm.
that before? That's one
Got
thing.
it.
The other thing is, it's been 1 year. It's not like, so you're still early in the process. So you kind of, I'm assuming you're learning new things, finding new insights, talking to customers and all that. So anything that you want to share in the last 1 year being full time, or even like in the last 2 years experimenting and then going full time, that you've identified that you can share with us?
Yeah. For YC, it's a good question. Again, I think it's amazing. I think especially if you haven't gone through it, it's honestly one of the most life changing things you can do if you get in. I was super shocked we got in, to be honest, and I really was. But yeah, it's like it's the hard work, right? The ability to say that you went through that on podcasts, when you're talking to other investors, when you're talking to employees, like this is the way the world works, as unfortunate as it is, but it's an incredible badge,
Hmm.
that follows you for your entire career. And secondarily, the network is just unbelievable.
Hmm.
So, and which also follows you for your career. So, it actually, I've gotten a lot of, during that hiatus, like I got all my jobs through the YC community. Um,
Hmm.
and so it's pretty incredible. And then also, if you're building a startup, I think my biggest advice on going through YC though is they let folks in like without an idea. They let folks in with really early ideas. Like my advice would be really have something that you have high conviction in before you go in, and maybe some early traction.
Hmm.
Because I think it's such a pressure cooker that it can really incentivize you to pivot and not, like, again, this game is so long. To make anything work, you need so much time. And you're
Right.
not going to get there in 3 months. And they're going to tell you outlier stories of folks that did,
Hmm.
and they're stories for a reason.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't work like that.
Right. The
Maybe for
reality is
you,
different.
just don't listen to them.
Yeah.
They're toxic. They really are. I think they're really toxic for founders. So,
Hmm.
but anyways, YC is fantastic. Highly recommend it. For this one, I felt like I had already gotten the value from YC. And yeah, I don't know. We just raised outside of that, and I just at that point didn't feel like it was worth going through it again. But maybe that's a
Hmm.
mistake. And then on your second question, yeah, I think I think one of my biggest learnings is so our first company did pretty well, but it was nothing like this, and the second company did not do well, and it just is so goddamn hard no matter what. And I
Hmm.
think no one, I think people talk about that, but it didn't. Again, it was another one of those things where like you hear on podcasts, but you don't actually internalize until you're there. It's just like it's just all different types of suck, right? Like when it's not working out
Yeah,
and no one
it's
cares,
hard.
like that's awful. Like that shit
Yeah.
feels terrible to your core, and really like you wake up just questioning and upset. And I've been there. It's terrible
Yeah.
when
Like it
things are
fucks.
going really. Yeah.
Yeah, it fucks with your mindset. Like,
Oh
so there will
yeah.
be a lot of self doubt, and you just can't be confident anymore because
No.
something's and so bothering too. Like, go anyway. Go ahead.
No. No. I totally agree. But what's funny is like if it's going well,
You're top of the world.
really hard, really hard. Yeah. It's not that fun either in many ways.
Really?
No, it's really fun. It's really fun. And again, we're not we're doing well. We're not like whatever. But like yeah, you get customers who might be upset with you. You have yeah, you're just trying to figure out like okay, do I hire this
Hmm.
person now? Do I hire this person later? Like oh shit, I hired way too late. Or like we're currently way understaffed, and it's hard to hire people, and that's really challenging. And like
Hmm.
building the whole thing is just like so hard
Hmm. It's
whichever
hard.
way it goes is basically what I'm saying. It's just like
Right.
it's never you always think, God, if only I could get to a millionaire, if only I could get to 2 millionaire, whatever it is, life will be good. And then you get there and you're like, the shit's harder than it was before. It's just a game.
Oh man.
It's the most fun game. It's the game that I love the most. It's the game that I always want to keep playing. And it is a game. But yeah, it's
Have you? So now that we're talking about startups as a game, in your experience, do you think people can bend the rules and play the game? I'm sure there are like some incredible people or incredible founders who did that before. At least in your experience, you've gone through IC, you've seen like so many peer founders of yours. So more curious on how to bend this game that works for you. Like how do people do that? How do founders do that? uh, just following traditional rules, because you also kind of are in a way bending the rule of saying, hey, I'm not going to build traditional way of building startups. I'm going to do my thing, right? So in a way I'm talking about founder mode, but so is now that everybody's talking about founder mode, but it's got into our heads, right? Literally on
yeah.
my head. So yeah, talk to me about like
Hmm.
how can founders bend the game to work towards them.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm not nearly good enough or successful enough to I think answer that. But again, I think it goes. Okay, I think here's the analogy. I'm a designer by trade. In college, was like a studio art, like fine art major.
Hmm.
And when you first get started, you copy shit, right?
Mm.
You copy everything, and that's how you learn, right? You copy what everyone's doing. You draw the little spheres and the triangles. You're looking at still lifes. You're looking at the previous masters, and go look at like all the famous artists and look at their early work. These are incredible. Like you look at a Picasso, okay, and you're like, God, what the fuck is that? Like that's crazy. It doesn't even look like how go look at his early work. These are unbelievable craftspeople. These are people
Mm.
who can draw, paint. the most realistic, beautiful things you've ever seen in your entire life. And so when you look at that kind of crazy looking contraption, you might think, wow, like they don't actually have any skill or something along those lines, right? Not the truth. You have to start doing the copying, and then over time, you build your own language and you build your own style and you build your own design patterns. And I think every game, and especially this game, works exactly like that. And when you first start out, you're going to read all the books, you're going to read Lean Startup, you're going to read, watch Alex Hormozy and whatever the hell you're going to do, and you're going to copy. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you should copy. You should copy, and keep trying to copy. And over time, you're going to learn what works and what doesn't work, and what totally sucks and what's awful advice and maybe what's good advice. And you're going to make your own style. And I think I'm still really early in what is my style, but I think I have started to forge that path a little bit after just putting in the years of this job. So that would be my answer.
For whatever reason, it's so comforting to hear that answer as a founder, because it's kind of hopeful that you still have basically do your thing and have least expectations when you do things, especially trying in the beginning, even at whatever stage, like VC backed, whatever it is, you're still work in progress. I think you should remind, the founder should remind about we're all work in progress quite a lot of times. And it's not necessarily in your first attempt you should do, or you should crack the code. I think when you're in, what you're saying is cracking the code is something that will happen naturally once you started copying the code. Like once you copy, that is so comforting. I don't know if you answered that question with intention, but it's so comforting that okay, you still have long time to go, do your thing. And I think you seem to have, so I spoke to Andrew Gastecki. I think I can relate you to him because
oh, that's nice. He's the nicest guy I've like ever met.
he's so calm, just like you. It's like no distractions, nothing. He's so calm. And I feel you've gone through such a painful experience made you calm. Is that right? Or are you calm by generally by nature? I'm curious because he is like way calm. And I asked him, and he said it was a very deep personal story that he explained. He lost his mom at a very early age, one of his parents, if I'm not wrong. And that shook him hard. So his point of view is everything that's happening won't cause me that much pain. So he keeps that perspective always. It's like if shit goes wrong, it's not that shittier, or it's not that level of pain that he experienced. So that is super helpful because you have to remind yourself as a founder if you go through some horrible times. So I'm curious, like, is the painful experience of shutting down your second startup made you way calmer? You seem to be like in peace. Like,
I'm not. I'm totally not. That's a facade if it is. I appreciate it, but no. I think
or
you know
have you
my job
cultivated
is
any
talking.
habits? Have you cultivated any habits
Oh,
or anything that like that to help you?
I was going to therapy for a long time. I'm actually not right now, but that's one. Yeah, okay. There's some things to talk about here, I guess. Let me think. So I think there's maybe one. Okay, so another thing, and I still struggle with this actually all the time. But it's like the hustle culture,
Hmm.
number of hours, commitment level. I recently got married. I have a partner. She's great.
Congrats.
She runs her own business as well, which is fun. And we've got a dog. We live in New York. We have friends. We have family. Our siblings are having babies. Like
Hmm.
my first startups, we would work so much. We would work 100-hour weeks,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
look where that got me. You know,
Perspective.
the outcome is not
Right.
nearly as good as the outcome that's going to come from this one? And this
Hmm.
one, yeah, do we work a lot? Yeah. Do I think about this company pretty much 24/7 for sure? But like, I go out to dinner, I hang out with friends, I see family, I go to the gym every day. It's again, it goes back to this patience thing. This game takes so long. You're not going to
Hmm.
figure it out. You're not going to get there tomorrow. You got to buckle up for years. And the only way to do that is to not like try and burn yourself out in the first like 6 months, and that's what we did. So I would say that's kind of a big one for me. Um,
Love that support system, right? In a way, it's like I hate the word work life balance. There's nothing, in my opinion, work and life when you're into startups. It's all the same. But at least having a line where you can like say, "Hey, I have to have my own life" is really important. Let's talk
I
about.
think I think actually another sorry, my last point of that too is like the line of like it's really interesting. The line of work I'm in, all I do is talk to founders who with companies that are going out of business.
Hmm.
And these founders are in a really tough spot, and I've been there before, and I deeply empathize with all of them. And I talk to them later on. They find new jobs, and they've started another company, and they've raised some money, or they've traveled, or once you've gone through it yourself, you know how painful it is, but you know that where you are on the other side is, I'm so glad where I am today. And then I'm also seeing probably like the most amount of founders shutting down that like anyone's hopefully ever going to see like in any portfolio or anything like that. So that also I guess brings some solace of just, yeah, like to
Hmm.
your point about Andrew, like what's the worst that's going to happen here, right?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. It's all about, I think, having that mindset, and patience is the name of the game. It's like so takes so long.
It's all boring advice.
Uh,
It's all like boring. You know what I mean? Like it's all
but
the
yeah,
same.
but I think the most impactful
Yeah.
advice is always boring and obvious. That's
Yeah.
why people miss
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Um, let's start. So, given you took hiatus, second sort of shut down, you picked this. Do you have any other ideas that you wanted to work in? If you would go back to like uh, the times like 2022, that's where things got down. You're working, you're consulting, hustling. Do you have any ideas you want to share? Like if sunset wasn't like a reality now, what would have Brandon worked on?
Oh my God, I was working on crazy stuff. I don't even know. You should talk to my wife. I won't bore you with it. It's crazy stuff. No, I think actually I don't really do this as much anymore, but actually a tactical tip, which is so also stupid and boring, but I didn't used to do it and then I heard about it and then I started doing it. It's actually very, very helpful. It's actually sometimes it's not I think supernatural for most folks to identify problems in the world and especially remember them. So literally I just
Hmm.
have a notes app on my phone. Like I heard this on some podcast or something, but yeah, one of those founders, they just like have these giant notes app. And anytime they hear a problem or something, they just like write it down. And I started doing that. And I wish I could remember. I mean, I think it was after, like I mentioned, it was like after one of I got a text from a buddy and then I already had this notes app and I just wrote it down. And I don't
Hmm.
think I came back to that idea for another month or two. But that's kind of a tactical tip of just like get in the habit of anytime like they can be the dumbest like you want me to pull it up? Like what really dumb ideas do I have in here? Like
Would
probably
love to
something
hear.
awful. I'll tell you what I was working on because then you can see how stupid this shit is. I love tea. I don't drink coffee. And so I found that tea bags suck. They're like super messy. It's hard to get like the actual concentrate you want. Either it's too strong or too light. Um, they have things as tea concentrate, but it's like you won't really buy that. Anyways, I thought of this company called Teat, like,
Oh my god.
and it was basically a squeeze bottle with like a little teat at the end of tea concentrate. And so I was super bored and I was at my job and I mean, you ask my wife, I like bought all this tea. I was making all these concentrates in our kitchen and I was like playing around with the logo and all. Yeah, it's like, once you get the bug, you got the bug, and you're just gonna keep doing dumb shit. But like that's what I mean. Like you just have to play. It's just a game of playing. And
Mm.
I played with it and I was like, this is so stupid. Why would I ever do this? But like I got, like you gotta go.
Mm.
You just that again, that's the big learning with Sunset and all these other things. It's just like don't write things off at first glance.
Mm.
Just give it a little shot and and have fun. It's like the whole point is fun. I'm having a lot of fun with this company.
Mm.
So yeah.
I love that. I think again, reassuring. It's so reassuring to hear that. Just show up and play. And I think when you do that for multiple times, one of these shots will make it, right? Like if you go after the basket so many times, it means one of the shots will make it, like, so,
Hopefully, knock on wood. Yeah.
but
Come back to me in a few years. But yeah.
thank God you're not building that, or else we would have talked
Yeah.
about tea bags right now.
I know. It was insane.
I'm
It was
curious now
insane.
that you have that notes app open. Any weird startup ideas that you want to share, like something that, man, it has potential, but it's so weird, like Sunset. Take your time.
Sorry, I'm going through them now. Let's see. All right, some that I really these are really weird. Have you guys used paperless post recently?
Yeah,
Pretty
I do.
bad.
Yeah.
Don't think it's great. Distribution wise, I think it'd be very, very hard. Right? I don't know how you go about distributing that, but I think it's a really I think the whole like e-card, e-invite, especially with AI and personalizing the cards and the messages and the videos and potentially incorporating things like payments into it. I don't know. I think there's like actually something really interesting in that space. There's a
Okay.
ton of money that goes there. So that's one that I was, using paperless post for our wedding invites, and it was a horrible product. And I was like, there's something interesting there. I have some other ones that are too weird that I won't even share. Coconut whipped cream can. That's one. Kind of dairy free. So I love coconut whipped cream. So if someone can make that, yeah, I don't know, man. I have so automatic car cleaners, like car washes for future self driving cab fleets. Those cars are gonna get dirty. So yeah, I don't like who even knows what's in
Oh.
this. Yeah, that's what I mean though. I have terrible ideas in here. Wire cutter for puppies. When we got our puppy, I was
Oh
like,
my
what the hell
God.
do I buy? I have no idea. So I would have loved like a wire cutter for just dogs. Tons of money there. I think you could crush. I think you can make a ton of money there. Yeah, I have so many other things in here that are just I haven't looked at this in a while. You know what
Do you still?
I'd actually love?
Yeah, good.
But my last one that's really what's the show on Netflix where the five guys will like revamp someone, like they do the house and the do you know what I'm talking about? They like restyle them and the
No, I'm not big into
oh my god.
any of that. But
Anyways,
anyway,
never mind then. Okay. All good. We're done with
all
we're done
good,
with
man. Do you still have that habit of writing problems even now after Sunset, or you
It's
stopped?
funny. I've been doing it a lot less. I think I just wrote one down pretty recently. But you should actually you really should do this, even when you're running your own company. We encountered so many goddamn problems running our own startup that
Okay.
are now huge companies.
Whoa, I'd like to hear that.
So
Yeah.
we basically how the product worked is like think of it was a tool for digital agencies. So it was really hard to get feedback from a website on like a waiter asset that you created that was hosted from your clients. So we made a really easy like Chrome extension. There's a tool called Jam out right now that did the same
Yeah,
that does the same
jam.dev.
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like Toybox with that before Jam existed, and you just like leave sticky notes on the website, and then so we had to build a ton of integrations with project management tools, tons, Jira, like all these crazy tools, and it was such a pain in the ass, such a pain in the ass. Finch, Merge, all these companies that are like raise monster rounds, like that is literally what they do, and we were doing that, like we were encountering that problem years ago. Sales tax is becoming like really hot right now, like as products, you'll see a lot of them. But again, we had a huge issues with like sales tax for SaaS subscriptions. Again, this is like 2018, things like that. I mean, the list just goes on and on. We like things like command bar,
Yeah,
all these
that's
types of
been
tools
popular.
we were building in house or like trying to figure out how to do them. And I just like we just were you have your blinders on, and so I do think it's actually a really good habit to do even when you are. And this is a good reminder and inspiration for me to keep doing that. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, Brandon, it's been awesome jamming with you. Ideas and like
Thanks
really,
for having me, man. Sorry for just like saying crazy shit for an hour.
no, no, no. It's all good shit though. That's the part, right? People should hear about this, and founders should learn about or kind of take in the boring ideas or the boring problems and boring advice and actually take it seriously. So appreciate you for joining the show. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think if you're a founder who is struggling or trying to figure out what to do, I'm always around to chat. Like we're not a salesy company, but I think a lot of founders don't know how the different options available to them and when you should start thinking about those different options. And it's usually earlier than you think.
Hmm.
And things just get really complicated if you take your bank account to zero, and if you don't start a little earlier on trying to raise that bridge or trying to find a home for your team with an acquihire or try and sell your assets, things like that. There's a lot of things you can do with enough time to avoid like a pure shutdown. So again,
Yeah.
that'd be my only thing. If you ever want to chat and you're in that situation, always have to, founder.
Love that, love that, and we're gonna keep all the related links in the show notes anyway, so that listeners can reach out to you directly. But that's been like a blast. I wouldn't say blast. It's been like a very calm, really like calm conversation. I, I'm so glad we did this. I'm so glad that I didn't expect this. I'm so glad we talked a lot about the things that people should pay attention to. So appreciate you, Brandon. And
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of
yeah,
fun.
for folks listening, just play the game. That's it. There you go. Nothing more. Nothing more. All right. Cheers, and stay
I don't know.
tuned for more founders like Brandon to hop on and share their advice and their journey and their lessons. So take care.
Thanks, man.